New polling is fueling concerns that the Harris-Walz campaign needs to do more to appeal to men voters. The New York Times poll finds 51% of likely male voters said that they would cast a ballot for Donald Trump if the election were held today. Only 40% said they would vote for Kamala Harris. In an effort to mobilize men in Midwestern states, Governor Walz traveled to Michigan earlier today for an event with black men, then attended tonight's football game at Mankato West High School in Minnesota, where he taught and was a football coach. Tomorrow, Governor Walz will go out on an early morning hunt with a group of outdoor content creators in Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. The Harris campaign has enlisted several high-profile men in recent days to help engage male voters to turn out to vote. Magic Johnson spoke directly to black men at a rally in Michigan last week.
Our black men, we got to get them out to vote. That's number one. Kamala's opponent promised a lot of things last time to the black community that he did not deliver on. And we got to make sure we help black men understand that.
And here's former President Barack Obama yesterday at a Harris campaign office in Pittsburgh.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that.
Now, it needs to be said that black men have been the most reliable voter group supporting Democratic presidential candidates in the last few decades, surpassed only by black women. And some have argued that Obama's tough talk to black men voters is misguided and should be directed toward white men and women, since large majorities of white men and a smaller majority of white women voted for Donald Trump in 2020. But in a country that is divided in an election that is as close as this is, every voter matters. Reaching out to and hearing every voter matters, whether it's black men or union members, as we mentioned, or Muslim and Arab voters in Michigan or Latino voters in North Carolina. So right now, we're going to check in with the organizer of Win with Black Men. My old friend Roland Martin, host of the Roland Martin Unfiltered Digital Show, is also the author of the book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Roland, you and I have been talking about people who have valid reasons to feel a bit disenfranchised or ignored for a really long time, for many, many, many years. And your thing is always, if you have beef, you got to vote. And you should probably vote for those whom you are likely to have the greatest influence over so you can change the way they do business. What's your take right now on this black men conversation?
First of all, I think it's a ridiculous conversation. It reminds me when Stacey Abrams was running for governor of Georgia, and when the election was over, you actually saw the data, and it didn't bear out. The reality is black men are the #2 largest voting bloc for Democrats. And then when you heard President Obama there talk about the numbers, well, here's what he's talking about. In 2008, 95% of black men voted for then Senator Barack Obama, 5% voted for the Republicans. But here's the thing. In 2012, 11% of black men voted GOP compared to 87% for Obama. So Obama sort of forgets that he lost 6 points because black men felt he didn't do enough. And so what you're seeing in the data, you saw that in 2016. I was one of the people who was yelling in 2012, Democrats better pay attention. Ali, what Democratic white strategists, I mean, very specific here, are not doing is they're not listening to the black people who are in the party. They're not listening to the people who are on the staff. And they don't understand that the black voter has changed. The further you get away from the black civil rights movement, African Americans less self-identify. So guess what? You got to court black people. You got to talk to them. You got to spend more. You can't simply assume that you're going to reach the black voter in 2024 the same way you did in 1984, 1994, 2008.
Do black men have a particular, as far as you can tell, because you talk to them a lot, do they have a particular thing that they want addressed by Kamala Harris or by either of the candidates?
Actually, repeat the question because the control room was talking to another guest.
Sorry.
And I couldn't hear
Is there a particular complaint that you've seen from the increasing percentage of black men who might not vote for Kamala Harris? Is there something that they want that will cause them to come back over?
First of all, they want to be listened to. You need to be asking them, what do you care about? And then what you have to understand is that you can't talk to all black men the same.
Right.
You can't talk to black men with just thinking it's all criminal justice reform, because there are some of us who've never been in trouble with the law. You can't talk to all about economics. She's actually doing that. But what also has to happen is on her campaign, I would urge her top campaign officials, listen to Senator LaFonza Busler. Listen to Cedric Richmond. Listen to Congressman Stephen Horsford. Listen to Congressman Jim Clyburn. Listen to Terrence Woodbury. You have African Americans who understand the data, who know how to communicate. Many of these ads, I was looking at a story today about Future Forward. They're running ads targeting black folks, and I'm sitting there going, but do they resonate? You have to communicate with African Americans differently, and also younger African Americans. A black voter that is 55 plus doesn't see the world the same as a black voter that's 45 and under. And so that's been part of the problem, that Democrats are trying to operate on an old playbook. And so you need to be having much different conversations, but also making it clear, what did you accomplish? You know, I would love if they created, if Vice President Harris sort of did say, we did that. Look, we did when it comes, not just HBCU funding, when it comes to the growth of small businesses, when it comes to actual stimulus, when it comes to closing the wealth gap, when it comes to cutting child poverty. There are a number of things that they've done. The problem is they have not messaged well. And the Department of Justice, this civil rights division under Christian Clark, is the most active when it comes to criminal justice reform, putting cops in jail, corrections officers, jail wardens, dealing with housing discrimination. The problem is the White House doesn't talk about it. I've literally said to Karine Jean-Pierre and others, the chief of staff, what are you doing? Your DOJ is killing it. No one knows what you're doing because you don't talk about it. And so that's part of the deal. You have to explain to folks, and Terrence Woodbury and Cornell Belcher's data shows, when you explain to black voters, especially black men, what you've accomplished, the numbers flip. They have to message differently and send the appropriate messengers. And so what Obama did yesterday, he needs to pull back from that and not think it's all about misogyny. Because I'll give you one example, Alan. In Ohio, reproductive rights bill, black men voted at a higher rate than any group in Ohio for reproductive rights bill, higher than even black women. And so understand you have to learn how to communicate with black men. The best messengers are black men who are on the ground.
Well, then I guess we picked the right guy to talk to tonight, my friend. Good to see you as always. Roland Martin, we appreciate your time.